All right, everyone. Okay. Yeah. So good morning and good evening once again, everyone, and welcome to this 1033rd meeting of Karachi Toastmasters Club. So first of all, thank you for joining. Second, there are some ground rules for every Karachi Toastmasters Club meeting. Number one, we volunteer not to talk about sex, religion, and politics. Secondly, we try to keep our videos on, even if it is getting tougher and tougher, like it is for Toastmaster Imran Runner right now. And secondly, we keep our audio off. And thirdly, we only talk when it's our turn to talk, and we avoid crosstalk while someone is speaking. So with that, I hand over the charge now to our president, Toastmaster Ibaris Khan.
Good morning and good evening, everyone, from whichever part of the world you are in, since we have DTM Sarfaraz as well. Toastmasters is a public speaking platform where people from all walks of life come together to improve the public speaking skills as well as leadership skills. It was founded back in 1924 by Ralphie Smedley in Englewood, Colorado, and it has more than 350,000 members worldwide. And do we have any important announcements to make? DTM Tala?
No, nothing special at this point, but I think we should take introduction from our newest member, Toastmaster Nurul and Qureshi, and also our guest, Toastmaster Hassan Sulay.
So,
Good morning. So, this is Hassan Sulay. I'm from Faisabad, Sadakat Toastmasters Club. So, I'm just acting as a guest to benefit from this session, from the invitation that I received from the WhatsApp group. So, I truly hope that with this session, I will be able to learn some good things. And I really wish for a successful session for today.
okay, and TM, the newest member, TM Nurulan, could we have some introduction from you? It's not there. So guest Ahmed Abdullah, I suppose he's a guest. So can we have some... Sorry?
Assalamu alaikum, Nurulan here. Still I am in office, so I am Nurulan Qureshi, and now I am doing a job in compliance department as I am an analyst, and I want to learn and improve my English, and it is a big lacuna in my career. So still I am very weak, and writing and emailing is especially speaking power. So I want to improve, and I want to join a Toastmaster. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. You certainly don't sound weak. And most welcome to the meeting and most welcome to Karachi Toastmasters Club. Next, we have DTM Ahmed Abdullah. Most of us know you already, but for some new people, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, sir, for the invitation. My name is, as sir told, DTM Ahmed Abdullah, and I'm part of Toastmasters community since October 2019, and I'm the vice president education of Say Global Toastmasters Club. Say Global Toastmasters Club is a very special club in the Toastmasters universe. It's the 4th club in the world and the 1st club in Asia that is dedicated to people with the speech impediments like stammering, and for people having social anxiety and phobia. And along with that, I'm also the CEO of Say Global foundation. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I think Toastmaster Hiba is disconnected. Anyhow, we will now move on to our first session, which is a keynote speech slash training session by DTM Sarfaraz. So, first of all, what this session is about, it is all about preparing for international speech contest. But when you do prepare for international speech contest, you end up preparing for speaking in journal. So that's the beauty of this session. It will cover all the technical aspects of what makes a good speech, and it will allow you to inspire your audience. It is very important for anyone who aspires to compete in international speech contests. And even if they're not competing or cannot compete for any reason, it will allow them to improve all their speeches. So DTM Sarfraz Nazir is one of our stalwart members. He is uh, 3 times semi-finalist of World Championship of Public Speaking. He just completed all 11 paths, and he did this in 1.5 years. What he believes is just one thing, and I'm saying this on your behalf, sir, that the only way to learn to speak is to speak and speak and speak. And there is no replacing the exposure and practice that you get when you speak every week or multiple times a week, which is what DTM Sarfraz does. And there's no rocket science to it, because if you speak enough, you get enough evaluations, you will get confidence. And one happy consequence of that is, as DTM Sarfraz just shared 3 days ago in his speech, is that there comes a point where you hardly need any time to prepare a speech, because you're so well versed in the art of public speaking and you're so on your toes all the time. And this is what I have discovered too, that if you make enough speeches, if you speak frequently enough, the preparation time becomes less and less and less. So it's a win-win situation all around. All you need to do is to take the plunge and keep speaking. We have several speakers in our club and beyond our club that they started and they give a speech every month or so, and then they actually complain that we are not seeing any improvement, or we are not sure if this program is benefiting us. So this is like not studying for an exam and then expecting to clear it, because just taking a Toastmasters membership is not the magic wand that will transform you from okay, I'm mixing metaphors here, but it will not transform you from a frog to a prince. It's not the magic kiss, right? So what it will do is it will give you access to a set of tools, but you have to use those tools yourself. You have to attend meetings, you have to perform roles, and you have to do speeches. The more you will do all that, the more you will improve in a short amount of time. And let me also tell you what happens if you do not give a speech for a very long period of time. You forget a lot of what you've learned. You get rusty. And I've seen even the best speakers, some of our most illustrious and decorated speakers, getting rusty because there's simply no substitute for continuously giving speeches. It keeps you in tune with speeches. And also, one more thing it does is that when you continue to give speeches, you keep witnessing other speakers, new speakers, fresh speakers, and experienced speakers. And you may learn something, and you will learn a lot of things from them. This is a given. Every time you see someone speak, you will take something of it. So it allows you to continuously innovate and change up your game. So today, DTM Sarfraz will be teaching us how to do well in international speech contests, but more importantly, how to prepare an effective, word-changing, heart-touching speech. So everyone, please put your hands together for DTM Sarfraz Nazir.
Could you inform the timer? Alvin is the timer, right? Or I can do the
Alvin?
timing. Alvin is not here.
Okay, if you can do the timing, that.
No, Alvin is here now. You can ask Alvin
Okay,
first.
okay, Alvin, okay, you are doing the timing, right? So, okay, the timing for this speech is 20 to 25 minutes. So you'll show the green at 20, yellow at 22.5 or something, and red at 25, all right? Thank you so much for that.
Some years back, I heard a Toastmaster attending a meeting. He would not give speeches. When asked to give a speech, he said, "No, I like to sit and watch others, learn from them." In my personal experience, I have never, ever seen an athlete win a swimming Olympic gold medal who never stepped into the swimming pool. If we could become athletes by just watching others, then there won't be any need to practice and learn. So same applies to speaking. You can learn something from others, but you will never become a speaker, especially a great speaker, if you do not yourself give speeches. Now, I understand some of you might just want to improve your speeches without competing in contests. Some of you might be interested in competing in the International Speech Contest, which is held every year by Toastmasters International. It goes from the club level to area to division to district, and from district on to the semifinals and finals of World Championship Public Speaking. My question to you is, if you are planning on competing in the International Speech Contest, why? Why are you competing? So would someone like to answer that question? Yes, Toastmaster Ahmed.
Yes, sir. Sir, I take part in contest each year because due to my stammering, so that like each time I take part and I take first, second, or third position that give me more confidence, and even if I don't get any position, that is still fine because I prepare and take part in the contest, and the whole process to get prepared for the contest and take part in the contest, this is something really special because this is time to learn more things, not for myself but also from the other participants, because I think this whole duration to take part in the contest, to prepare for that, to get mentorship, guidance, and to perform in the contest, there we learn more, and second we get chance to listen to others too. So the whole year, the thing we do our speech projects and take part in the meeting. This is on one side, and to take part in the contest is on one side. So I think the person who is taking part into the meetings and getting prepared, I think to test him or herself, I think he is only by taking part in the contest. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your response. Yes, by giving speeches at the club level, you improve because you receive feedback and you apply some of that feedback and you continue giving speeches. But the best way to improve your speaking skills, to take it from one level to a higher level, is to compete in the international speech contest, because it forces you to practice, prepare, modify, edit until you become a champion. I don't mean a champion, someone who receives a trophy in the World Champion of Public Speaking, champion in the sense that you yourself feel confident that, hey, I can stand before any audience in the world and deliver my speech. And you deliver your speech in such a manner that the audience says, wow, what a great speech. So if you're planning on competing, then I suggest that you read the speech contest rule book. I posted in the Karachi Toastmasters Club WhatsApp group. You can also get it from the Toastmasters International website. If you're competing, you must also familiarize yourself with the judging form. The form is used by judges, but you as a contestant should know what is it that the judges are looking for. Not the scoring sheet, but the second page that says the judging criteria. In case of international speech contest, the content is 50%, delivery is 30%, and language is 20%. Now, even though the content is scored higher than the delivery, but it's the delivery that drives the content score. The better you are in delivering that message with panache and pizzazz, the better you are in scoring high on the content if you have something of value to deliver to the audience. The language, it's 20%. Basically, almost everyone gets a high score on language unless you are misusing the English language, mispronouncing, not enunciating the words. For example, in the District 122 International Speech Contest, one of the speakers, they did place, but they had a mistake. For example, the speaker said, the book that give me. It should have been the book that gave me. So when you are getting ready to practice, and I'll discuss later on, you need to pay attention to the words that you're not familiarized with, how to pronounce and enunciate them. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about how you go about planning, then preparing, and then finally practicing so that you can deliver a gem to your audience. I've also posted the handout. You can use that in the KDC WhatsApp group and also in the chat. When you are ready to plan your speech, the first thing you have to decide is the topic. The topic must be universal. It doesn't mean that it's something that you're passionate about, but it has no value to the audience. So it should be something that the audience worldwide can relate to it, and that it adds value to the audience. Most of the popular topics are something to do with adversity, how someone came about something that was a failure in their life, and then what did they do to succeed? Or dreams, or relationships. How did they maintain relationships? Something that they experienced in life that taught them a lesson. If you use a controversial subject, it may appeal to some portion of the audience, but it might not appeal to everyone. All it takes is for one judge to have an issue with the topic you've selected. For example, in the World Champions Public Speaking that was held this August, a few months ago, a speaker gave a nice speech, but her message was accepting her son-in-law, who decided to go from a son-in-law to a daughter-in-law. Now, to her, it was acceptable that she had some issues with it, but she accepted what he wanted to do. But I'm sure that some judge felt that this was not the appropriate subject for Toastmasters World Championship speech. So if there's any question whether everyone in the audience or every judge is going to abide by it, they're going to be pleased with it, then you should avoid that topic. So pick a topic that has universal appeal. And then your theme is your message. What message do you want to relate to the audience? Your speech must have a single message, single theme message, just one message. When you go about practicing before your friends or fellow club members, ask them after your speech, what was the message of my speech? And see if everyone answers the same way. If different people give you different messages that they got from your speech, that means your message was not clear. So the topic you selected, the theme, that the message that repeats itself. For example, the person who took second place, who was in giving third place, who was giving an in-person speech in the World Championship, his was about listening and understanding. And he repeated that message several times within his speech. And also he has a gesture. Whenever he says listening, he pointed to his ears, and understanding, he placed his hand on the heart. Listening and understanding. So same gesture, same words repeated several times throughout the speech to reinforce his message. And then title. Many times we don't pay attention to the title of the speech. We prepare a speech and then slap some title at the end. It doesn't matter whether you come up with the title before you have your speech or whether you come up with the title after you have prepared your speech. Title is important. For the international speech contest, your title should be short, 1 to 4 words, or most 5 words, but it shouldn't be long. There was, I think last year or a year before that, someone in the World Championship had a full paragraph as the title, and the person announcing, the speaker, has to announce their name, title, and the name. So they had to repeat 2 long paragraphs when they repeated the title twice. A long title is justified when you are conducting a training session, so people know what your training is about. But for a speech, especially speech contest, should be short, sweet, that catches the attention of the audience, but doesn't give away your message. Sometimes I've noticed that people, they use the message of the speech as the title. No, the message should be within the speech itself that repeats. So here are examples of titles that I used in my semi-final speeches. Drive Your Dreams. It started with Keys to Success. Keys to Success was not that attractive or not enough appealing. So I changed it to Drive Your Dreams. Then in this case, the theme was, oh yes, you can drive your dreams. Another time in my semi-final speech, the title was The River of No Return. And then the message within the speech was, like a river, go forward, never look back. So think of the title, spend some time, and come up with a title that catches the attention of the audience, that they want to listen to you. Then most of the time you're going to spend is on preparing your speech once you have planned your speech. The purpose of a good speech or a great speech is to make the audience think and make the audience feel. It should come from your head and your heart, and it should reach the audience's head and heart. The head is to make them think. Very simple. The manner in which you deliver your speech should be where they can easily follow. If my speech has 3 points, 3 sections, I personally prefer to use the formula PEER. That has worked well in many cases. That doesn't mean every time I give a speech is going to have 3. In some of my speeches, it has 3 different sections, 3 different stories. And sometimes it's just one long story within the speech with 3 different sections within that one long story. So PEER, P is point, make a point. What is your point? And E, explain. What do you mean by it? And the second E is elaborate it. Give us or tell us a story. There was a time when I used some of stories that I had read. The problem was when I am relating that story, especially in a speech contest, some of the people had already heard that story because it was not my story. And especially if the judges have heard that story, they're not going to be impressed. So the best thing to do is to use personal stories. And then R is restate. Make a point, explain your point, elaborate your point, and then go on, restate your point and transition to your next point. Towards the end, I will show you an example of what I mean by the PEER, peer formula. Then heart. A great speech puts the audience on a roller coaster ride, takes them on highs and lows. You are not only making them think, you're also making them feel. If you are talking about something where you felt the pain, you want the audience to feel that pain. Can you imagine the pain that he felt or the pain that she felt? And the best way to make the audience feel is by telling an interesting story, a personal story, and then rating it as if it's happening right then at that moment. So the audience can see and feel what you were going through at the time when you lived that story. A good story has a setup. When did it take place? The time should come first place. When it happened, it was a Sunday, July 20th, or it happened in 1997. Give us the time, the place it happened, who was involved. And you're not going to describe all the characters, but the main characters in your story, you need to tell us a little bit about who they are. My father, he was tall, dark, very conservative, or very liberal, very straight, very loving. Tell us something about the character so that we know when you mention that character with a story, hey, we can relate to that character. Instead of simply saying, oh, my father, and then going on telling what he told you or said to you. Dialogue. Actually use that dialogue instead of saying, oh, my father said this to me, and then I said to my father. No. If you watch movies, they'll show you one person saying a dialogue, then they switch to the other person responding. They don't say, he said, she said. So it's say, my father, when you say father, say it and change the voice slightly so that, hey, let me tell you a story, son, or let me give you a lesson, my child. You know, exact words in his voice, or if you're talking to your mother, in her voice, and then you responding to it in your voice. So in dialogue form. A good story starts with the setup and then what's going on, and then it goes on to show us there's some conflict, some tension within story, and that's what holds our attention, the audience attention. Hey, what happened? And then what happened next? Then after the tension, you resolve the story, that tension, the conflict, meaning that, hey, it was resolved and here's the result of it, and there's some lesson out of it. For example, if you watch some movies, especially Punjabi movies, the hero sees some heroine somewhere getting water along with her friends. She's somewhere outside the village at some well, and he falls in love. But before they can proceed with their relationship, a villain comes up, or it's a situation where the two would like to get married, but the father or the big landlord of the village says, oh, this marriage cannot take place. And then now we have a conflict. And then something happens that the hero resolves that conflict so that they go on to live happily ever after. Humor, if you look at the judges' form, it doesn't say just speech should have humor. But if you listen to the speeches that you loved, especially the winning speeches of World Championship, you'll notice they have humor. Because especially if you are telling us something that is serious, we want humor to let us bring us back up if you have taken us down emotionally. Of the 8 finalists in the World Championship, there were few that had no humor at all. And those did not place. Now, that does not mean they did not place because they had no humor. Humor does not guarantee that you will win. But lack of humor means that you might not win. Because people want to see and feel, and they're thinking about what you're talking about. When you say, this happened to me, they think, hey, something similar has happened to me. And then you're also entertaining, making them laugh at the same time. If the entire 7-minute speech is serious, it's going to have an impact. So use humor. And in my speech, how to use humor, I gave some techniques, and I'll give you a few examples. For example, the rule of 3. You mentioned 3 things. The 2 are related. The third is related to it, but it has a twist to it. You put it on a tangent. For example, in describing an infomercial on TV where the dance studio is saying that, hey, come and sign up for dance lessons. At the time I was a student, this is how I described it. I woke up in the middle of the night to see a beautiful, bodacious body swimming across my television screen. In a sexy voice, she said, are you single, shy, and lonely? Call 1-800-DANCING. At the time, I was a student. I was single, shy, and stupid. I had to set up that I was a student at the time so that people could relate it when I said I single, shy, and now audience expecting I'm going to say lonely, like the commercial said, but I changed lonely to stupid, and people can relate to it. Students are actors, stupid most of the time. So that's one example. Another is where you make fun of yourself. In a speech where I was talking about some parents wanting me to marry their daughters, I said, they wanted me to marry their daughters, not because I was tall, dark, and handsome. As you can see, I am not tall. So I'm making fun of myself, say, hey, of the 3 things, I'm not tall. At the same time, knowing that people know I'm dark, now I'm saying I'm not tall, that I'm leaving that, hey, I'm handsome, and people laugh because I'm indirectly saying I'm handsome along with being dark. So there's different ways of using simple techniques. But the best thing is when you're preparing your speech, don't think about humor. If it comes natural in there, that's fine, include it, but focus on the speech itself. Then once you've prepared the speech, then you go back and look at your speech, review it, and see where you have a chance to add a sentence or 2 that adds humor, entertains the audience. Then once you have planned and prepared your speech, it's time to practice it as if you're actually giving the speech before an audience. One's view, what is the audience going to see? They should be able to hear you. They should be able to see. If you are giving in person speech, then the chief judge will tell you what your speaking area is, and you need to use the full. You don't need to just stand in one space. You go from left to right, forward to backward. So you show to your audience, and especially the judges, that you have command of the speaking area. If you're giving online, you can use Zoom to set up a single person meeting, or you set up a meeting with some of your friends and practice it. And you put some markers on the ground from left to right, so you know where you drop off the screen, because you don't want to drop off unless it's part of your speech. Then also you want to make sure that you are seen within the screen, meaning you should be in the center with equal space on the left and right, and on the top should not be above the top of the screen. There should be a slight gap of what, one fist or an apple. If you're just in one corner, that doesn't look nice. And the best thing you can do is your background, clear background, white or off-white. Some people have a lot of bookcases, for example. If there's a bookcase and I'm watching the speaker, I'm looking at to see if I can see the title, what kind of books they have. So some people don't like what their background is, so they blur the image. The problem is if you blur the image or use some virtual background, then when you move your hands, you'll see a black shadow around your hands and your hand when moving your head. In the District 122 speech contest, after the contest was over, they had some guest speaker. She was going to help us meditate, and she used some enhancements from Zoom where she added some eyebrows and lip enhancement. And where each time she used her head moved, but the enhancements did not move. So her eyebrows are on one place and her head is the other place. So don't use any enhancements from Zoom. Make sure your mic, if your laptop mic is not good, add an external microphone so you're clearly heard. Make sure your camera is such that you can be seen clearly. The image is clear. The lighting, make sure that the light is not in front of you. Otherwise, it's going to wash out your face. The light should be at 45 degrees angle on your right and your left. Practice till you feel comfortable, but don't over practice. Don't think, oh, I need to practice every minute, every hour. No, practice till you see, hey, I'm comfortable delivering that speech. It doesn't take much effort. Planning is important. Don't start preparing your speech. First, plan what your topic is going to be. That's of universal appeal. What your theme will be, message. The message should be clear. And then you should have a call to action at the end of your speech. What should the audience do based on what you just told them? And then pay attention to the title so it grabs the audience attention. Prepare where there's words that make the audience think and has some emotion so the audience can feel it. Add some humor so you can entertain the audience. Then make sure you are seen and heard effectively. And you will have a great speech, a winning speech. A winning speech is not one that the speaker walks away with a trophy. Winning speech is you said, yes, I have done my best and I have improved myself. And the audience, someone from the audience comes up and tells you, Talha bin Hamad, that was a great speech. Alvin, I enjoyed your speech. Or Wase, oh, I enjoyed your speech. I loved your speech. There, you touched the audience. And now I'll open the floor for some questions.
Thank you so much, DTM Sarfraz. And everyone, the floor is open for questions. So anyone, if you wish to ask something, please raise your hand.
Yeah. I see Mariam, Toastmaster Mariam.
Sir, how to make a book, sir? Sir, last time, I don't know, sir. Right now I have a speech, but still I'm confused. Should I give it or not? This should be the one. I'll discuss with you first and then I'll make it show. But sir, yes, on a point, you are very right that humor is important, but to add it and where to add it, it's quite difficult because humor changes it. Obviously, when someone is listening to your speech with focus and all, it helps you to gauge the audience. But sir, you do have given us good points on how to add it, but how important is it to add humor in a speech, and how important to act on it? I mean, when you are giving a speech on Zoom, what are the important points that we have to make sure to do it? I mean, in Zoom, as per Zoom, in the perspective of Zoom, I'm asking, because I'll be giving a presentation on Zoom. So how important my hand gestures are and humor, because you're not interacting with the audience directly through Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Toastmaster Mariam, for your question. Okay, you are not interacting, meaning it's very likely that the mics are going to be off, so you don't get to react, which makes it difficult. But you mentally prepare as if you can hear them laughing. So when you're delivering your speech, if there's humor, you deliver your speech. Now, how you adding humor is you just look at it, see where it flows natural. For example, I gave an example one time before. Someone in the Urdu speech contest, KTC Urdu speech contest, was talking about, I think it was MBA, for example, said most people take 2 years. It took me 4 years. And he just said, oh, what's the big deal? And then he goes on. And I thought after when I heard him say, I thought he had an opportunity for adding humor when he said, it's most people take 2 years, but it took me 4 years. And he should, instead of saying, not what's the big deal? Because it is a big deal if you're taking twice the time it takes. Audience is thinking, why did it take him 4 years instead of 2 years? Is he too slow? Or he's not too serious about his studies? So he could have said, hey, 2 years, then it took me 4 years. And then again, say, oh, that made me sad. So now people can relate to it that when if you take 4 years instead of 2 years, it's not going to make you happy. But then the humor comes in and he says, oh, but my parents said, son, don't be sad. Oh, you took only 4 years. We thought it's going to take you 6 years. So see, people will laugh that, hey, it took you 4 and you were sad about it. Parents are saying, we thought it's going to take 6 and you only took 4 years, so we're happy. Meaning that they thought, hey, you are not too bright. And people laugh that, hey, some parents think like that. So that's one way. In my example, before I close the session out, I'll show 1 minute story from a speech where I talk about my father bringing a Sears catalog. Sears, a store, it's ordinary store where general public goes to shop. And I talked about that, hey, I looked at the catalog and started dreaming that someday I'll go to America and buy some of the things I was watching. So that's how my speech was. And it ended by saying that, hey, I went, after arriving in America, I went to the Sears store and bought shirts and ties. And, sometimes dreams do come true. And that's how it ended. But then when I looked at it, then I thought, that's a good opportunity to add humor. Sears is an ordinary store, but there's a Neiman Marcus. That's the store where rich people go. You have to have money in order to go and buy it. So then I had just one sentence after saying your dreams do come true. Then I said, I wish my father had brought home a catalog from Neiman Marcus. And people laughed at knowing that, hey, if my dream came true from the Sears catalog, he had brought home a Neiman Marcus, I would have been buying some better things. And the audience broke into laughter. Then also, it's not only humor, but also how you deliver it. The punchline and the punch word, you have to pause. So when I said, we brought home a catalog from, I had to pause. And I would say, what is he going to say next? Then I said Neiman Marcus. Sometimes people just run words into each other. And so people lose that moment of. So it's not only what words you're using, but how you deliver it. So on Zoom, your eye contact is important. Now, sometimes you'll say, I was looking up something, it just should go. In one of the District 122 contest, there was a speaker. That speaker used gestures in every sentence. No, you should, that's overusing gestures. But you should have gestures that go along. Let them come natural. There was a time when I used to think, hey, I need to have gestures so I can impress the audience and especially the judges. For example, in my speech, we say the difference between success and failure is attitude. And I said the difference between success and failure, 2 gestures. And someone said, that's very mechanical. So now I don't prepare gestures when I'm preparing my speech. I let the gestures come natural when I'm delivering it. The hands, now the hands shouldn't go, naturally, but don't. Now, there are a few places where you want to make sure you're facial. I say, I was sad. I've seen people sometimes they're saying something that was show sadness, but they have a smile on their face. Or they say that made me happy, but their face is serious. So if you say something and you expect the audience to laugh, you need to pause slightly and show a smile. If it's serious, something show disgust, anger. There should be anger on your face if you're talking something. Hey, my father was angry. Then anger should show on your face when you say that. You should say sad. Hey, I was so happy. The happiness should show. So gesture goes with the emotion that you are feeling. And so not pay attention. because I did that too. I was trying to look at the screen to see what the audience is doing. But if I do that, then I'm breaking the eye contact. So look at there and pause. And you can still look, even when you're looking at the eye camera, you can look slightly. For example, in the keynote that I was practicing for the KTC 4 Club joint meeting, in my speech, I asked a question that was talking about two women that wanted to work with me. And I said, one had a business meeting in Istanbul, Turkey, another one in Paris, France. And I said, raise your hand if you think I went with Katie and to Istanbul. And then I asked, raise your hand if I went with Linda and to Paris. So when I asked her Istanbul, I noticed the DT and Talha, he raised his hand for Istanbul. He's thinking, hey, most likely I selected Istanbul, especially for the blue city, rose city. And in this case, people are thinking, hey, did he go to Paris? Some Americans think, oh, probably I wanted, like Paris. Then the punchline was that, hey, I walked into their manager's office and I said, problem solved. There will be no cat fight. I'm going to work with, pause, both. Because audience thinking I'm selected one. In this case, I selected both, and that's what where the audience come in. Now, another place, how the humor came in, when I mentioned, when the manager said, hey, Sarfraz, I have 2 female employees who are fighting over you. They both want to work with you. And then instead, okay, I went to talk to them. I added a sentence. I never imagined that women would ever fight over me. And when I said that at the District 50 lunch keynote, people started laughing. Because when you say, hey, most men don't think that women will be fighting over. You see that in movies. So it's just a subtle humor. Even though I added a humor after saying that I never imagined 2 women, I added another one. As you can see, I'm no George Clooney. And I thought people would laugh when I say I'm no George Clooney because they relate to that I'm putting myself down by saying I'm not George Clooney. But people laughed at the sentence before this one when I said 2 women, not imagining the women we fighting. So look at the camera, making sure the gestures, don't over gesture. So gestures, so the expressions should go there. And then, some people keep moving forward. No, you can stand away so people can see you. And when you want to make a point, you can stand. You don't have to walk next to the camera, just stays there and just lean forward a little bit. Pause, make your point, and then walk back. Instead of walking, what I mean, walk back, not walking, just lean back. And again, my point. And if you're talking to 2 people in dialogue, you don't have to keep, walking left and walking right. You stand there and just use your feet to twist to one side, one person, and then to the other one. If you say my father and you face one way, make sure throughout your speech you always face in the same direction whenever you mention father. If you say, and then if you have 3 time frames, past, present, and future, you can slightly move in front of the camera, present in one spot, and then past, present in the middle, and then future to the side. I hope that answers some of the questions you had.
You answered.
One more.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, and
Go ahead.
Postman Mariam, I was, even though I was answering your
timer's expression. But
yeah, he said now we've gone the red from green, yellow to red, and back to yellow, green. So
the clock is thinking about killing itself. So
yeah. So the answer was not only for you, Toastmaster Mariam, but also then so the others can hear the same.
So yeah, but you can ask Toastmaster Mariam.
I think Hassan Saab has raised his hand. I have already asked one. I can ask you later.
Okay.
I think he also wants to ask. Let him give.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to ask from Toastmaster Sarfraz some question. First of all, I would say that it was a wealth of experience that we have been hearing and giving the capacity to absorb all that beautiful words. It was not easy for me, I must say, but at the same time, I would say that I've learned a few very good things from you. And one thing which I just wanted to ask you, because you have such a great experience, that sometimes it happens in public speaking that we have something in the mind that we want to say to somebody, but because of the language barrier, because English is not our original language, So we have to translate it first from what we are thinking in Urdu, then we come back to in English, then we give it some words. So what happens is sometime in between, we are blank. That what I have to say next, how can I translate my feelings into right words, which is going to the audience in the same way which I do want to, for them to perceive and understand. And I'm blank for that for some moment. And how can I overcome this thing? That my ideas are fluently going through the people's mind, that I'm not breaking in between, and what I'm saying, it's clearly heard and understood because of the language barrier, because I'm not good at English. So how can I overcome this thing? Is this practicing? Is this reading? Is this listening? How can I do that?
It's all of it. To improve your English, one is reading. The more you read, so if you're reading and if I come across a word that I'm not familiar with it, these days, you can use your mobile phone or your computer, laptop, dictionary.com, Merriam-Webster, put in that word and the meaning, it'll show up. So you're adding your vocabulary. Then also, when you attend meetings, all meetings have a word of the day, which actually should be word of the week, because you try to use those words. Then, there was a long time ago when my early days in Toastmasters, I always used the word of the day in my speech, but then there was times when I used 2 or 3 words from different meetings in my speech. Purpose was not to tell the fellow members that, hey, I can use the word of the day. No, purpose was for myself to improve my vocabulary. So you read, you try to use the words that you listen to. So for example, if I am reading something and I like a word, look at the meaning, I make a note of it that, hey, sometimes I can use this. Now, you mentioned about thinking. If you are preparing a speech that you're going to deliver in English, don't think in Urdu. You must force yourself to think in English, and when you're preparing it. So you're not translating from Urdu to English, unless you already have a speech in Urdu that you want to give in English, then you know. But if you're just preparing your speech, think in English. Force yourself to think in English. Listening to others helps you improve your English by reading books or newspapers and then making note of the words you like. But you should not use, superficial words, some nice big word, because if I do that, it's possible that I may misuse it, or I may forget. If it's a long word that I can't even pronounce correctly, I may forget when I'm delivering my speech. Just simple word, extol, E-X-T-O-L, praising. So that was the word of the day. A long time ago, Toastmasters used to sell words of the day. You got a pack of words, and Toastmasters grammarian would take one of the words from the pack and show it to extol, which used to be one. And that's a good word to use. Hey, I cannot extol enough the virtues of KTC club meetings. So you try to use words. And then when you hear a word of the day, not only the meeting, when you're talking to your fellow friends in English. So if you are preparing a speech in English, try to think in English and also speak. When you're talking to someone, don't say in Urdu and say, oh, I'm going to practice my speech. No, talk to them in English. So you're forcing yourself to think in English and then speak in English. Now, that does not guarantee that automatically you become a great speaker. It takes time. And so the very first time when I advised, it was my honor to get to the semifinals, which is one step away from the final. And I lost by the lowest margin possible. So 18 judges. If a judge gives you first place, you get 3 points. Third place is 1 point. And I lost by 1 point to a Toastmaster who won the contest and went on to become the world champion. And the main reason I lost was my enunciation was not too good. And then I spent several months after that to make sure that never happens again by saying the words. And when you're delivering your speech, before you turn your camera on, loosen your mouth, pat your left, right jaws and open your mouth, say then E, then combine the two, E, then you faster, E. So you're forcing yourself so the mouth opens correctly, the words flow. So all this will take time. Many times we see a speaker say, oh, great, I'm never going to be like this. No, what you have not seen is how they gave their speech the first time they gave their speech. several times. And plus it takes practice. Now, when you see Olympics and you see someone doing great job and they take home a gold medal, what you never see is the hours and hours they put in practicing. So practice will make a difference. Practice giving speeches as many times you can in your own club, especially go to other clubs and hear other evaluators give you feedback.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, DTM Sarfraz. And I'd just like to add a couple of points. First of all, as you yourself said, DTM Sarfraz, nobody ever learned to play football or play tennis by watching YouTube videos. You will never learn speaking unless you speak. And secondly, this point about thinking in English. Now, I have discovered that if you speak often enough, you will start thinking in English. People say that it is impossible, but no, it's not impossible. That's my personal guarantee. Because when you can start by speaking in English to yourself first. We all have that inner voice inside us that we are constantly talking to, right? And so when that voice switches to English, that will only happen because you speak often enough in English. So that is one way. Just keep speaking in English, and ultimately your inner voice in your thoughts will translate to English. Secondly, when you start, again, that is my personal experience. It may not be applicable to everyone. My speech usually start with a title or a sentence. So for example, my last project was about presenting a proposal, and I thought to myself that what if there was an app that could schedule the restroom visiting time for everyone? That is the exact thought that I had in my mind, in precisely those words. So it was not in Urdu. It was something related to everyday life, right? And it was in English. So sometimes, so what I can say about myself, again, coming from personal experience, as a result of speaking often, you start thinking to yourself, and even if it's not in English, it's certainly not in Urdu. It's somewhere, it's an undefined language. And that's when you know that, you are able to write a good speech because you are able to break the shackles of the native language. And that will only happen when you talk to yourself in English all the time. Yeah, you'll look like a madman, but don't care. Secondly, one thing more that I do, as DTM Sarfraz said, vocal exercises. And we don't have adequate space ordinarily to perform vocal exercises, especially before a speech. But if you drive to work, to and from work, that is the ideal time to go crazy with your vocal practice. You can practice reading passages in English. You can listen to audiobooks or, English language radio stations. You can scream, you can shout, you can perform vocal exercise just like singers do. They perform all sorts of weird sounds to optimize their voice. And that's what speakers need to do as well. So if you're driving to work, to and from work, that's the ideal time. You can also practice a speech if you have written, for example, if you've written an outline of a speech, you can start delivering it on while driving as if you're speaking to an audience, and you can time yourself and you can further refine it. So it's a golden opportunity. And that is the only place where no one will, people will see you, and some may conclude that you need medical attention, but but they won't be able to hear you. They will just be seeing you making weird gestures. So don't care about that, because if you start caring about what people in other cars would think of you, how will you deliver a speech? Ask yourself that. So you need to let yourself completely go. So yeah.
DTM Tala, can you give me access? I'm going to show a 1 minute. It's a clip.
Sure.
You have seen, you and some of the other KTC members seen it, and
sure.
Especially Toastmaster Mariam. This is one story from my semi-final speech.
Now you can share, sir.
I want to show you. It's a short clip. It's the Toastmaster or the contest master announces me. My words are not the opening, so I took the out. This just goes from the opening into the first story. So the opening is missing or the introduction is missing. The purpose of showing is, look, it's on dreams. I say a few sentences to explain what I mean by dreams. Then I elaborate it by giving a personal story. And the transition is I'll already cut out, and see how the humor is added. And for example, when I said, usually if you want to go from Pakistan to America, what do? You go to the American embassy and you want to know, hey, how do I get my visa? But notice this is not what I said in my speech. And the way I said it, it's what made the audience laugh. And gestures, now if I was giving this online, it'll be slightly different. So there won't be enough area to move, but I won't be changing that gestures that much. Look at the facial expressions. When the audience laughs, I have to laugh with them. And there's a slight pause so that I don't overrun the audience's laughter. So give me a second to share here. And then I agree with driving. If you're driving yourself or if you're riding with someone, that's the best, because you're not taking extra time, just practice in your mind. You start preparing with an outline, then prepare a full script from the outline. Once you have the full speech, then you take that speech and make another outline out of it, and then you deliver it from the outline, not from the written. And when you're practicing, there are times when what I say is different than what I wrote. And if I cannot say what's written, I don't force myself to memorize what's written. I change the words that are written to match what I keep saying. So always say what comes to your mind. So instead of forcing, because if you force yourself to say what you've written, sometimes during the speech, you're going to pause and you'll feel, hey, what am I supposed to say? So here, share. Video.
So, okay, so I think we can move on to the next session, but wait, okay, sorry, I was away for a minute, so yeah.
Okay, see if you can hear it.
Speaker number 3, Safarez Nazir, Drive Your Dreams, Safarez Nazir.
Success begins with a dream. Dreams represent your roadmap to success. Believe that if you cherish a beautiful dream, one day you will realize it. A young, tenacious boy was growing up in Pakistan. When he was in the middle school, his father visited the United States of America. Upon his return, he brought home a catalog from Sears. In the afternoons, this boy would flip the pages of the catalog, look at the pictures, and dream that someday he will go to America and buy some of those shirts and ties. He walked to the American embassy to ask, how do I get to Sears? Day after day, he flipped the pages of the catalog and dreamed and dreamed and dreamed until he arrived at Oklahoma State University. One day he went to Sears and bought some John Henry shirts and ties. That young boy from 14,000 miles away who flipped the pages of the catalog and dreamed stands before you to tell you that sometimes dreams do come true. I just wish my father had brought home a catalog from Neiman Marcus.
Thank you for fellow Toastmasters, and especially Toastmaster Mariam. You see, it's a 1 minute for international speech, and look how many times the audience laughed, especially when I said the Neiman Marcus. There were more than 200 Toastmasters in the room. So it's not that difficult. Good words delivered with passion, gestures to go along with the words, and emotion. And you can see facial expressions, hand gestures, not overdoing it. And DTM Talha had mentioned something earlier, and I agree with him. I can give this talk that I'm giving talk. It's an 8-hour training session. I can do this. So So I'm going to stop. Otherwise, I'll keep on going another hour or so. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about the ISC. I am not competing anymore. And now it would be nice someday if you go into the biggest stage and walk off with the trophy. Then I can say, hey, this person attended my training.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster Talal.
Thank you, DTM Sarfraz. And I would sincerely suggest that you should start charging after the first half hour. Instead of stopping your lecture, you can say that now I will continue, but only if. So try that. It can become a great revenue stream for you. So with that, I mean, there was so much to unpack, and I believe that coming from someone like DTM Sarfraz, who not only has an experience of competing on the big stage, but more importantly, an experience of speaking so much with in front of so many diverse audiences. I believe those are some of the learnings, and I will just reiterate some of the points because that's important for the contestants. First of all, and again, this is what DTM Sarfraz said in a very similar civilized manner, but I'll be more direct and morbid in my usual manner. You're not out there to inflict your beliefs on the world. All right, that's not, Toastmasters is not the stage for that. So please keep thoughts of such intellectual jihad to yourself, because as DTM Sarfraz already hinted at, Toastmaster Linda Mary, she clearly touched upon a subject that was not comfortable for a large section of the audience. And you know what? Even if one person is uncomfortable with that, that is enough, because it's not a democracy. Your speech is supposed to be appropriate for everyone. It's supposed to be universal. So even if it's making one person uncomfortable, or if a judge thinks that it will make that one certain person uncomfortable, they will rightly deduct marks on that. So you need to make it universal, and it's not rocket science. The second tip is that largely base it on your personal story, because that will firstly be more effective. Secondly, it has no risk of being disqualified on grounds of originality. And thirdly, it will come from your heart. So, and fourthly, about the humor, I wanted to add that self-deprecating humor works best. People love it when you are suffering. So give them what they love. Give them what they love. Dig out tales from your life in which you lost, or you made a fool of yourself, or people laughed at you. And trust me, it's guaranteed that people will laugh. People will laugh on that. Even if they won't laugh at your most finely crafted jokes, they will laugh when you slip on a banana peel, or when someone slaps you, or when you get spurned by a lady, or your flirting attempts fail. And don't pretend like all of us have tons of such incidences in our lives, right? So base your humor on that. Self-deprecating is the safest and the most reliable brand of humor. And lastly, have a look at the World Championship final speeches, whether this year or previous year. You will get a very good idea about what kind of topics are covered. So, for example, the first speech, which, to be very honest, I'm not a great fan of, because for my personal taste, it had a lot of loose ends. The Indini one, for example, the speaker did not explain. They mentioned that their father left them, right? They did not explain what happened, and I believe it had a direct bearing on the speech. But I was clearly not one of the judges. So what I'm saying is that it was a very general topic, and Dini, about finding yourself, finding your voice. Similarly, the second place winner was also something very universal, about how a cake united the whole family. The third place was that Malaysian Mahathir Mohamad, and his topic was also. So these people came from three different places, 3 different places, and yet their speeches appeal to everyone. So your speech does not have to be something that only makes sense to Pakistanis or Asians or South Asians. Be very careful about that, because you can get away with it at the club level, maybe even area level, but at division level, district level, there will be judges from outside the district, and they can come from anywhere. So make your speech international again. When in doubt, don't. When you're doubtful about whether a topic will be appropriate, don't go there. The very fact that you're doubting it means it is not fit. I can guarantee you that. And to be very honest, I was shocked about what happened with Linda Mary's speech, because I thought that with that she would walk away with all 3 positions, but precisely the opposite happened. And this is when you take a risk that perhaps did not need to be taken. So don't go there if you're even slightly doubtful about any subject matter. And finally, one last piece of advice. Please have someone review your speech. Even world champions have their speeches reviewed again and again and again. Not just evaluation, but when you prepare the first draft, have someone who is not competing. Even a fellow contestant can review it if you trust them enough, right? Just to check for appropriateness and how a speech sounds for a contest speech. You may be in love with your idea, but if you show it to Toastmaster Imran Rana, 99% of the time, what will happen is that he will say, there's no wow factor in this speech, because that's what he always says. So, so you need a reality check. You need a reality check, and someone else will give you that reality check. You cannot give yourself a reality check. You're not above and beyond reviewing. And that's also true for you, Toastmaster Javed Bhatti, even though you have won twice the international speech contest, because you cannot discount the value of having neutral and objective feedback that will not only check for the appropriateness, which is more important in my opinion, but also whether it works well on a contest level. So with that, everyone's laughing. I've been missing something. Okay, I'll read those remarks later. But with that, move on.
DTM Talha, there was a remark about shooting the judges, and that's one reason Toastmaster says do not disclose the names of the judges. So audience should not know who the judges are, because you never know, someone who loses the contest will come up and shoot one of the judges.
Right.
So that was a contest. And I agree with you when you said, practice. You go and between after winning the district contest and before competing at the semifinals, I practiced at 10 different clubs. Clubs that most of the clubs where I had never been before. As a guest speaker in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, at noon, some clubs, and some clubs that met in the evenings, 10 different clubs. And I got feedback, and you don't accept all the feedback. Otherwise, you'll have a big problem. But you just listen to the feedback and see what's appropriate, what will work, exactly. And you yourself decide how you're going to change it. But when you practice at different places, for example, in one of my clubs that I belong, District 25, some person, he was the only contestant. He wanted to compete in the speech contest. He practiced every week in our club, and that's not the way to practice. He did advance to the district, but he did not place, and then he wondered why. You practice with the same audience. You need to go outside your club and practice other places.
Yeah. So if you recall, some members would recall that we hosted 2 semi-finalists this year, and both of them were so anxious for feedback. They asked that, just tell us what we need to improve. We don't need to hear our praises, right? So even at that level, they had already made it to semi-final of World Championship of Public Speaking. That means that they had won their district, and they had then made it through the quarterfinals as well. So even at that point, they could have just rested easy that, our speech is absolutely fantastic, but they did not. So there's a lesson there for all of us. And now so I And seeing the remarks there, yes, I agree with Elvin. DTM Surplus, you looked better than George Clooney in that video, and you still look better than how George Clooney will look in 10 years' time. So it's just the age difference. Trust me, he has got nothing on you. Secondly, yeah, the judges will be confidential because they will be hiding in plain sight. In our contest, what we do is we allow everyone to log in with their real names and turn on their videos, just as audience members. So contestants will have no way of knowing whether someone is a judge or not. They will not be logging in through blank screens. They will not be logging in through weird names. That makes them more conspicuous, in fact. So, and you really can't hide the judges in an in-person setting. So some of the judges will be in person, some will be online because it's a hybrid contest. So there's no point in hiding the judges. They just should not disclose, and they will not disclose whether they are the judges or just attending the contest. And at KTC, Alhamdulillah, we have an advantage. More often than not, we have several people from beyond the club attending already. So it's easy to disguise the judges. But we'll be asking the judges to even turn on their videos. It's not a crime to give a reaction, even if you're a judge. Trust me. Someone who is online, we will try our best that you have at least 5 or 6 windows open so you can judge the audience reaction. All right. So with that, we move on to the next segment, which is our prepared speech. And now I hand over the charge to the lead evaluator, Toastmaster Imran Rana.
Thank you so much. Before introducing the speaker, I would like to confirm that I'm audible and visible.
Yes.
Okay, second thing is that I request DTM Sarfaraz to please hand over this video to DTM Talha, and he will upload it on KTC YouTube. If it's possible, or if the club allows.
Yeah, after we decide how much the payment will be.
I showed you the door, but now we have to bear the consequences.
Okay, so fellow Toastmasters and guests, our speaker, Toastmaster Wasir, will going to deliver his speech from Dynamic Leadership. Currently, he is on level 2. The purpose statement of this project is for the member to identify his or her primary leadership style or styles. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspects of his or her primary leadership style or discuss leadership styles in general. So the time duration is 5 to 7 minutes. Since now Toastmaster Wasi Ahmed has taken up his speaking position, I request you to pin the timer screen. So before that, I would also like to introduce the round robin evaluators. And let me see who are they. Just a minute. So the visual will be handled by Toastmaster Hiba Rais Khan. Can we confirm Toastmaster Hiba is with us?
Yes, he is online.
Okay, great. For auditory, we have Toastmaster Elvin Faraz, and he is also the timer. For perceptive, we have Toastmaster Mariam Aftab, and for language and structure, we have distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid. So Toastmaster Wasi Ahmed, the stage is all yours.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about different leadership styles. bureaucratic, democratic, and altruistic. I guess I got it right this time. So it's Ramzan, and you are having the second round of iftari. And suddenly there is a breaking news. The moon has been sighted. And tomorrow it's going to be Eid. How happy all of us are. But exactly at that time, you discover a bureaucrat in your family, your mother. No ifs and no buts. You have to do everything she says. Washing, cleaning, fetching groceries, everything. You have to do it without questioning her. And let's say out of tiredness or complacency, you delay the task of fetching yogurt from the market, then you soon hear a loud voice. Vasile, you did not go to the market. Where is my dupatta? I am going to go myself. You always does this. And you, from your resting place, you stand up and off you are to the market in a flash. Sometimes I wonder that if my mother does not become that bureaucrat, how would that preparations would ever be complete? A bureaucrat gets his work done in the most quickest manner. And to sum it up, it's like a dictatorship. However, dictators have garnered a bad reputation all around the world. So we are going to move to its alternative. Now, it's the end of the year. It's the end of the school year, the academic year. The teacher are not teaching. And of course, like every time, the students don't want to study. So I would like to ask you guys, what would you do in these circumstances? I would bunk the school. But how do you do that? You do it democratically. You collude with all the like-minded students, and don't forget to garnish the teacher's favorite in this recipe. And then you come up with a great strategy and execute it. The whole point of doing this setup is to follow this principle that if one drowns, then everybody drowns. It's in order to share the risk of consequences. But sometimes the headmasters shows us that this democratic way of leadership might not work. So we have to go into another one. The case number 3 would be you are leading a team with specialized individuals. Those technical skills that you don't have, but your teams, different individuals do have those skills. So how are you going to lead them? Are you going to be a bureaucrat poking your nose into every decision with you? Or you are going to democratically decide the act, like using the unskilled mindset and poking your nose into those technical areas? No, you will use altruistic mindset. You will delegate the task to the person who has the potential to do it. and to deliver the results. So does that make altruistic mindset or altruistic leadership style the best leadership style? Personally, I don't think so. For me, the leadership style, there is no best leadership style. The leadership style depends on the circumstances. It depends on the leader's ability to adapt. I have personally used all of them, some dealing with my friends, a mix when avoiding conflict, and some when negotiating prices at market. We don't realize, but at times we have to use leadership style in the most simplest situation. No matter what leadership style you choose until you get your desired results. And personally, I would say add a bit humor into it too. It usually helps. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day or General Valedictorian.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Wasi Ahmed. Now I'm going to start my evaluation. So the evaluation timing is from 2 to 3 minutes. 2 green, 2.5 yellow, and 3 red. Fellow Toastmasters and
Hold
guests,
on, could you repeat that? Sorry to interrupt you. Could you repeat the timings once again?
2 green, 2.5 yellow, 3 minutes red.
Okay. Yep, good to go.
Thank you so much. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, today Toastmaster Wasi Ahmed delivered a quite humorous and amazing speech on the leadership style, and he told us about the leadership styles, that leadership depends on the circumstances and the adaptability. So that was quite wonderful. You started with salutation. I love the way you brought the humor in your speech. This is one of your strong point. Then I love the way you describe the leadership style in a storytelling style and explain us in your personal stories. Like you brought the story of your mother, then and told us what bureaucratic or dictatorship style is. Then you brought the story of your school and explained what the democratic style is. Throughout your speech, what I love most about your speech, that you have a skill to dramatize the whole situation. That's wonderful. And whenever you do this, you always grab our attention, and you engrossed us in your speech. Your hand gestures were amazing. They were perfectly aligned with your speech. You used the stage quite well. Throughout your speech, I felt that you could have worked more on your content, because sometimes I felt that you were stumbled somewhere. So you need to have more practice and you may work on your content as well. Another area of improvement which I would like to suggest you, that you were standing so far, so it was quite difficult to hear your voice. So I was quite struggling, but fortunately, when you stepped closer to the mic, then you were quite clear and loud and clear. The overall your speech was mind-blowing. It has a proper opening. Then you brought personal stories to explain the leadership styles. You could have give us more examples about different other leadership style as well. I love the way your hand gestures, the way you use your hand gestures, the way you picturize the whole speech through your dramatized skills. Just you can work upon the content, maybe some more practice, plus try to stand on a position where you could be hear loud and clear from the beginning. So with that, I would like to call my first round robin evaluator, and for visuals, we have Toastmaster Hiba raised hand. So Toastmaster Hiba, could we have your 1 minute feedback about visual?
Okay, TM Vase, I felt that overall your body language, gestures and expressions were pretty good and were in line with the speech, and I felt that there was nothing lacking. And I mean, you could have your expressions and everything were perfect, and there was nothing lacking. You couldn't have added anything more. That's about it.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Hiba. Now for auditory, we have Toastmaster Alvin Faraz. So Toastmaster Alvin, could we have your 1 minute feedback?
Yes, sure. Let me just quickly confirm if you can hear me, see me.
Yes, you are perfectly audible.
Okay. So let me start with the positives. It was really beautiful. You were very much audible. The voice was clear. When you talked about your mom, we could feel that your mom was there. The shouting, the loud, high intensity of the voice, that was brilliant. When you smiled and you had that happiness in your voice, we could all feel that happiness in your voice. Later, when you were talking about the democratic leadership, you imitated as if the teacher had hit you in the back, and we could feel that pain. So you're on the right direction, you're in the right path. Congratulations on your speech, brilliantly delivered. Thank you very much. Back to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Alvin Faraz. For perceptive, we have Toastmaster Mariam Aftab.
Hi. What I'll be doing, I'll be the perspective role. I'll be playing the perspective role in which I'll be describing how the speaker was prepared and the speech impacted the audience. Let me tell you, Vase Ahmad, and congratulations on it. You are the most innovative speakers, one of these innovative speakers who knows how to attract the audience. You have the quality of humor. You know what you are saying. That's the best thing. And you know how to deliver it. I remember your first speech in which you showed us your heartbeat also. And there's a lot of improvement throughout. I know you have worked on it and you have showed it. In today's speech, I would like to say that when you started it off, then it's announcement of the Eid is made. You were preparing. We all can relate to it. And the mother's part, totally. So I think all mothers are alike. The way you have incorporated that leadership style, and then you move towards the other, that was very good. I enjoyed that part, and I love the humor that you have added. That was very much like over there, and we all can relate. So congratulations and all the best.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mariam Aftab. For language and structure, let me call DTM Talha for his 1 minute feedback.
Thank you so much. First of all, there is very little I can suggest in terms of your language. I found it almost perfect. It was simple, it was understandable. I could not detect any errors, although our grammarian would have more thoughts than that. Sure. It perfectly matched your speech very well. As far as the structure is concerned, I really, really admire the fact that you incorporated stories into this, which could be otherwise a very boring project. I know. I feel depressed and disgusted every time I come across this project, because I know I cannot get ahead without doing this project, and it's a necessary evil that I have to get through. But you found a way to do this project which was very creative, very engaging. In fact, I would go as far as saying is that, while you fulfilled the objectives of the project, it was by no means a speech that could be limited to understanding your leadership styles. It could prove to be, with some alterations, a very good contest speech as well. So congratulations on that. I believe that your structure was great. As an improvement area, I could just say that I found, at least that's my opinion, that your conclusion could have been a little more substantial, especially considering that your assignment was understanding your leadership style. Although you did give your opinion that ultimately we cannot settle on a single leadership style, we have to adapt. But perhaps you could have bolstered that with an example or something. That's the only feedback I have. Over to you, lead evaluator.
Thank you so much, DTM Talha. Now, I would like to give 1 minute to Toastmaster Wase Ahmed to respond all the evaluators, including myself too.
Okay, so I personally think that all the evaluations were on point, not exactly on point, because I was seeking that there would be way more improvement areas than what I have listened. Because coming to Toastmaster Imran Rana, you caught me there because I actually was missing certain parts and I was trying to remembering them in between the speech. You really caught me there. And coming to the voice part, I guess I personally think there might be some problem with your internet there because everybody could listen to you. That could be there. Coming to DTM Tala, not I would say to everybody. I personally think that there was a lot of room for improvement. There is still a lot of room for improvement. Coming to the conclusion part, I think that there could be for the adding something more into conclusion. I would personally think that might drag that conclusion thing. If I put a story from myself in to bolster it, to support it, I personally think it would just drag conclusion a bit more. It would just increase it. That's something. And although she is not here, but I would love to say that Toastmaster Usa really helped me to make this project a really interesting one. She is not here, but I would say that she played a really good part in crafting it for me. It just was like that I put the data or what you say. I put a data into the computer and she made it an information for me. So that's how it worked. So that's how good she was. So she's not here, but thank you too. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Wase Ahmed. I would like to say that you are just 2 projects away to be eligible for the international speech contest. Your strong points are the way you dramatize, the way you use your body language, the way you use your vocal variety, and always put a smile on your face. That these are the strong points. If you come up with a strong content, then you could turn around things into your favor. So all the best, and over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Wase. This is the first time a speaker has schooled all of the evaluators about how wrong they were. So I absolutely love your confidence, Toastmaster Wase. Absolutely love your confidence. To tell you the truth, speaking for myself and on behalf of other evaluators, there really were precious few improvement areas. Trust me on that. You should see the recording. Also, Toastmaster Imran, I would also strongly urge you to see the recording to check whether his audio is audible in the recording. Because see, the point is that Toastmaster Wase stood quite far from the camera, which allowed us to see him and which added more effectiveness to his speech because he was able to move and do all those gestures. So it's very crucial to find out, especially for a contest, whether the voice was really audible or it was inaudible to some. So Toastmaster Imran, if you can see the recording and let Toastmaster Wase know. And lastly, Toastmaster Wase, there's no reason for you to give a virtual presentation in the contest. You can turn up at Beach Luxury Hotel and remove all the uncertainties, right? So, but again, it was really a mind-boggling speech on understand your leadership style, and the evaluations were good, but your reaction was absolutely phenomenal. Trust me, you are that engaging, you are that animated in your speech that people really find very little to complain, unless you're not well prepared, which you were today. And I especially absolutely love how you honored your mentor, because not everyone does that. So a great precedent for all of us to follow. Even if Toastmaster Rusha, she's not even in this meeting and you honored her. So yeah. So now make up your mind whether all the evaluators was wrong or Toastmaster Rusha really helped you create a great project. Pick one. So, with that, we will move on to our language evaluators like Remedian Toastmaster Hiba Khan. Toastmaster Hiba, your report, please.
My report is almost 0, and because I could not detect any grammatical, again, both the speakers, all the speakers today were flawless till what my ears could allow me to hear. And there were no grammatical errors or any sort of incorrect phrases used by the speakers. So that's about it.
All right. Thank you so much for letting us off the hook. And we have our timer, Toastmaster Elvin. Toastmaster Elvin, please try to give your report without crying.
Yeah, so our first speaker was, good thing is that all the people who presented today, spoke today, have qualified. They were in the given time frame. For Vase, it was 6 minutes 35 seconds. For DTM Sarfaraz, before the QA section, it was 27 minutes and 16 seconds. But after the QA section, it reached to 43 minutes and 12 seconds, which ultimately shows that he was very much willing and involved to answer every single query, every single question that was raised. He explained with a lot of examples. So that's pretty much it. Everything, all the evaluators have qualified and they spoke within their time frame. Thank you very much. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Elvin. And now I'll give my general evaluation of the meeting. First of all, I believe that DTM Sarfaraz's session was, as always, not only beyond useful for speakers, it was also a great motivator. So if you're not speaking frequently, you should feel the motivation to speak now. And this goes to Toastmaster Vase Ahmed too, because I was discussing with one of the members while you were speaking. If only you spoke more often, if only you would spoke more often, you would be a guaranteed contest winning speaker. Because when you speak, you always inspire us, and you saw that in the evaluations, right? And that stands true for everyone, but especially for you, Toastmaster Vase. So congratulations on your speech. Your speech was fantastic, and it enthralled us and informed us and it detained us and it made us think. As far as DTM Sarfaraz is concerned, I don't think any words can suffice for feedback. We are sincerely grateful to you, sir, and it is inspiring to see how you put your heart out every time you disclose all your secrets again and again and again, because you want to share rather than keep things to yourself. And the way you answer questions, seriously, no timer would want to stop you. So I don't blame anyone, because today's session was, after all about teaching the speakers what works and what doesn't. And so sincerely grateful for that. And finally, as also the general evaluator, the reason I am also doing the evaluation session, because no one took the GE role. So if club members will attend the meetings but will not take the roles, the meetings will be hobbled. So it is my sincere request to everyone, please take up roles when they're called for. And we cannot burden people with more than one role. It's not our policy. Especially in academy meetings, we try to stick to one member and one role. So, for example, DTM Sarfaraz made himself available. And DTM Sarfaraz, please tell me, what time is it in Texas? Sorry, you're muted, sir.
1:56, almost 1:57. So you can say almost 2 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. It's 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock in the morning. Yes.
And people sleep around 9 or 10 in the USA, unlike us. So if DTM Sarfraz can stay awake, can be awake at midnight for this meeting, I believe there's no reason KTC members cannot be awake at midday for this meeting. So everyone, if you do plan to participate, please take up roles. Nothing bad will happen if you take up a role and cannot make it, because we will find a replacement. But that way, it will help us fill out the agenda. So that was the only missing point in today's meeting. We did not have a full allowance of roles, and the speakers and evaluators had to do other roles as well, which is not ideal. Other than that, I have absolutely nothing else to say about the meeting except that DTM Sarfraz's training session as well as Toastmaster Vase's speech was fantastic. And I believe there was a great link with what was taught in the session, what was discussed in the questions, and how Toastmaster Vase did his speech and how his speech was evaluated. So there's a great link, because if you see, our modular evaluation section actually mirrors the international speech contest ballot a little bit. It is not identical to the evaluation sheet, which would make it redundant. What it does is that the evaluator evaluates the project according to the project objectives first, but the modular evaluators keep the other things that make the speech effective first. For example, voice modulation, visuals, gestures, structured language. So I believe it's a very good compromise. It's a very good, no, sorry, not a compromise, it's a balance. So with that, I hand over the charge now to our President, Toastmaster Heba, and to conclude the meeting. But before that, please take guest comments.
Okay, so do we have the guest I spot okay, guest Hassan, can we have some comments from your side?
Well, thank you very much for again giving me the opportunity to speak about today's session. And I must say that it was wonderful. It was really a very good session from a learning point of view. I learned many good things from the speakers, and most of all from the DTM Sarfraz. And that was, as I mentioned earlier, it was a wealth of experience that he had. And given the time we have, it's too little to learn from him. And I would love that we can have sessions like this from him. It's 2 in the morning over there, and I appreciate all the hard work he has done for this session. And I would really recommend to the Karachi Toastmaster Club if he can invite him once again, say a session once in a month or something like that. That would be really good. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Toastmaster Hassan, actually, DTM Sarfraz is a member of Karachi Toastmasters Club, and he attends almost every meeting. He conducts regular training sessions. So every time you see a promo for a meeting of Karachi Toastmasters Club, you're more than welcome to join, number one. And number two, one guaranteed way to get more training sessions is, of course, to become a member of Karachi Toastmasters Club. but again, that is not a requirement at all. We'd be honored and privileged not only to have you, but we can also host your speeches and evaluations if you wish. So we are open to pretty much everyone on the planet. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and there's this guest Ahmed Abdullah. Can we have some comments from your side?
You're muted, Ahmed.
Sorry. Yeah. Hi. I really love the meeting, and the way you guys conduct the meeting is amazing. There is one speech, and there is 3-4 evaluators who evaluate. So I think this is good. This is in this way the speaker could get more you can say suggestions and feedback. So I think this is good. And in the same time, at the end of the evaluation, circle, the speaker also share that how he or she felt. So I think this is really good, and I was waiting for the table topics, and then I realized that there was a training, so the table topics were skipped. So this is good. So yeah, I really enjoyed the meeting. I was here last week, and I'm here today too. So in each meeting, I am learning a lot. Thank you.
Okay, guest TM Kumar, can we have some comments from your side?
Please unmute
Yes.
yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry to say I came into the meeting just at the end and I'm unable to comment exactly. But what little I've heard, the meeting seems to have been interesting, but unfortunately I missed everything. Thank you.
Okay. 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 And I guess that's about it for the meeting.
I think.
Do we have any other announcements to make or anything?
Yeah, but let's take comments from Toastmaster Nurul and Qureshi. She attended this meeting as a member for the first time. So any feedback from her would be welcome.
Okay.
Toastmaster Nurulan, are you there?
She's in her office, I guess.
All right. Yeah, Toastmaster Mariam, you have a raised hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a point to Toastmaster Vase Ahmad. Vase, now I do understand the point that you were confused on the evaluation and other points. You have to believe that you are a good speaker, and you are a good speaker. Let me tell you that. The point is, I have mentioned that thing that on the first speech, I still remember, just to make you realize that you have improved a lot. Well, there is a lot of room of improvement. Definitely your speech was not the best, and no one in the room has, except for Sarfar, have ever given the best speech in our life. So we all are working towards it. But because of your improvements, we know that, it is not our language. So we do stop while speaking. We do take our pauses which are not meaningful, but it's not something that we recommend you or on something, because we know that this happens. This is a part of it. The only thing that we all have asked you is to practice, because we know that when you practice, you will overcome all those things. So stop thinking on that point. And because you have to believe that you are a good speaker, to be a good speaker. And trust me, you are. So maybe we have not pointed it out. You have felt it. But once you watch your clip, your video, you'll understand that why we did not pointed it out, because we know that you are working towards it. And these points were not worthy enough to say something, because we know that you have improved a lot and you have the potential also. So I wish you all the best and congratulations. You have a good mentor, and obviously she will help you out, and she is working good on you. We can see the improvement.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mariam. And did I detect a hint of a sense of loss when you said, congratulations, you have a good mentor? What do you mean by that? Anyhow, no worries there.
But
Nurulan is
Toastmaster
online.
we both have a common mentor, so we should not.
So, all right. So Nurulan is online. Toastmaster Nurulan, your feedback, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I am first time attending the Toastmaster meeting. It's very good, and Vasi is very confident in the good speeches delivered. Toastmaster meeting, and thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Nurlan. We are looking forward to your icebreaker very soon, inshallah, and looking forward to for your further participation. Thank you for taking up membership. So this over to you, Madam President. Now, I think you really should conclude the meeting.
Okay, and with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you so much. And just one announcement that our next meeting is 4 days away only, incredibly. So everyone, please take up roles, and everyone, please try to come in person to Beach Luxury Hotel. Otherwise, it does not make the effort worthwhile. So if we only have 4 or 5 people in person, it is not worthwhile for us to go all the way there and hold a hybrid meeting. Does not make financial sense. It does not make logistical sense. So everyone, please, if you're in Karachi, please try to come in person and start thinking about what you are going to do in the coming meeting. Also, once again, reminder, although no one needs it, but our international speech contest is 28 days away now. It will be on January 1, 2023. And if you are not preparing for it, if a week passes, it will be too late to prepare for it, because international speech contest speeches take a lot of preparation. The more prepared you are, the better your speech will be. So with that, anyone who wants to say anything, please go ahead. Otherwise, we will. So if there's nothing to add, yeah. If there's nothing to add, then we can say goodbye. And thank you once again, everyone, for attending today's session. And Toastmaster Imran, if you can make the recording of this session available to all the contestants, it would be great.